All right, gang, your old schools for the third 6 weeks. It's a little bit of new and a little bit of old. So let's start with a little bit of old. We want to make sure that you still know how to do fractions by hand. So when adding and subtracting, remember you do need a common denominator, okay? So both of these numbers go into 15. In order to turn a 3 into a 15, I'm multiplying by 5, which means I need to multiply the top by 5. Whenever I turn a 5 into a 15, I'm multiplying by 3, so I need to multiply the 3 on top by that same 3. And now you just add the numerators and you recopy the denominators. If it reduces, reduce it, but if not, just leave it alone and you're good to go. Now with multiplying and dividing fractions, the first thing is you don't want to divide. You would turn that into multiplication by flipping the fraction in the back. So you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And then from here, if you can cross reduce, but I can't. Like none of those numbers go into each other. So I just need to do top times top, bottom times bottom, then I'm good to go. All right, now here comes the new stuff. This is radicals and simplifying radicals. Now, what this means, everybody, is that you're going to try to find a way to break this down into something that does have a perfect square root, okay? So you want to go through in your head and think about, like, what is 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared? You get the idea? Think about all those numbers that you remember and love from elementary school multiplication, and you're hoping that one of these numbers can go into 75. Well, which of these numbers goes in there? Well, 25 looks like it goes in there, right? So what you do is you keep the radical sign and you break this into 25 times 3 because that's what makes 75. Now, what happens next is you can break up this radical and think of it as the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. And what's the square root of 25? Well, it's 5. What's the square root of 3? I don't know, and because of that, I'm just going to recopy it. So what's in the box there is your final answer. So let's try that again on number 4. Let's break down the 12. Can you think of a number here that goes into 12? Hopefully you're seeing 4, right? Because 12 is just 4 times 3. Now, they're both underneath a radical right now, and there's this random 4 out front, so feel free to just keep recopying the random 4 out front if you like, or leave it alone till the end. That's fine. Now, let's talk ourselves through it. What is the square root of 4? Well, it's 2. What is the square root of 3? I don't know, so I'm going to recopy it. And that 4 that was chilling in the front is still chilling in the front. Just make sure you understand that this is a multiplicative relationship. So in other words, whenever you bring this number down, it's being multiplied by what's already there. And when you multiply these numbers, you just multiply these two, okay? You leave the radical alone and just multiply the ones out front. There's your final answer. So what if you have to multiply and there's numbers in the front and there's numbers in the radical, okay? Well, think about it as like multiplying but also combining like terms. All you have to do is the number in the front times the number in the front. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then you do whatever's in the radical times each other. So the square root of 6 times the square root of 3, well, that's the square root of 18. Now, sometimes you'll be done here, but sometimes you're not, because if this breaks down, you want to do it. So do any of these numbers go into 18? Yes, they do. 9 times what? 2? Okay. So 18 is 9 times 2. I'm going to bring that 6 down that was already there. I'm just carrying it down. Now, what is the square root of 9? The square root of 9 is 3. And what is the square root of 2? I don't know. So I'm going to recopy the square root of 2. So now what does this turn into? Well, you've got a 6 times 3 on the outside, and you've got a square root of 2 in the back. And that's what that will become. All right, and then beyond that, it's just a little bit of old fun here. Multiplying, that may show up again. So this is just the FOIL that we've known to learn and hate. So if we multiply this out, you're going to get 2x squared, first times first. Then I'm going to do 2x times the positive 5. Then I'm going to go to the next number, so I'm going to do -1 times both of those. So -1 times x, -1 times 5. And now combine like terms. A lot of you maybe missed this step on your last old school. Just combine like terms. In the middle, these guys go together. And then we'll recopy what's in the back. That's what you're looking for on number 6. And then on 7 and 8, these are the opposite of number 6. So in other words, the goal is to find the two numbers that go in the parentheses. When there's not a number in the front, when there's just an invisible 1, these are really easy because all you have to do is look for that magical combination that multiplies to the back but adds to what's in the middle, okay? So we're trying to multiply to 18 but add to -11. So let's think of numbers that make 18. 6 times 3, but 6 and 3 don't make 11. How about 9 and 2? Okay, so 9 times 2 makes 18. We need a -11 in the middle. So how about we put a minus in front of both of those? That is it. That's where you get to stop. Now, when there is a leading coefficient, this is where we've taught, a lot of us have taught you guys factor by grouping. You first bring down these that are already here. Okay, so 3x squared. In the back, -5, and our goal is to break up the 14 into two numbers that, what's the goal here? The two numbers need to multiply not by just 5, but by the 3 in the front times the 5 in the back, or the -5 in the back. So I need two numbers that multiply to -15, but they're still going to add to whatever's in the middle. So can you think of those two numbers? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. That won't make a 14. How about 15 times 1? Okay, now 15 times 1 is good to go, but we need it to be a -14. So I'm going to do -15 plus 1x. That's what you break down to the middle. Now the grouping begins. Group the first two, group the second two. What goes into these? How about a 3x? If you take a 3x out of these, you're going to be left with an x minus 5. And in the back, since there's nothing really that comes out of those, just pull out the invisible 1. And if you divide both by 1, it's going to be x minus 5. This is awesome. When these match, you know you're doing the right thing. You'll bring the thing that matches to the front, and then whatever's left in the front of both is your second set of parentheses. So hallelujah. Here it is, a little bit of the old schools and a little bit of the new old schools. If you need help, come and see your teacher before or after school. We'll only take a few of these this 6 weeks, and the first one will most likely be the end of this week. So good luck, guys.